Hello everyone and welcome back to Fallout 76 for what turns out to be a bit of a surprise. The new Steel Rain expansion has also expanded on what is still my personal favorite questline, Lying Lowe. We spent time examining that story in detail a few months ago, and when we left off, everything appeared to be resolved. I've linked to that series in the eye here, and I'd recommend watching it before finishing this video. It should go without saying that today's video also contains plenty of spoilers for the new content, so if you want to avoid those, you might want to click away. Now let's get into it. When we left off, we knew that the fixer sent by the Bish Company to dispatch Calvin Van Lowe was killed by the imposter Sheepsquatch, which got loose after killing Calvin Van Lowe, who created it from an advanced military assaultron and may or may not have attempted to program it with a penchant for lovemaking. If we return to Van Lowe taxidermy and take another look at Calvin's secret lab, a new possibility emerges. What if Calvin Van Lowe didn't die after all? We assumed that there being no body in his lab was the result of Wolf, the fixer, dragging his corpse away to dispose of it. But what if that assumption is entirely wrong? What if Calvin dragged himself out of the lab? We can see the blood smeared across the floor, but we also see a first aid kit on the wall, hastily torn open. After we leave the secret lab, we can take note of this table covered in blood with a bucket beside it on the floor, likely used to prepare animal parts for taxidermy. When we turn to the east, we see a trail of blood leading to an ice machine, with what looks like another pool of blood beside it, going all the way up to the wall. That seems out of place. If they were using the other table to bleed out the animal corpses for taxidermy, why would there also be blood over there? Here's what I'm seeing now, or at least potentially seeing. Imagine that Calvin had just been severely injured in a likely gruesome fashion. Trying to save himself, he ripped the first aid kit open, using whatever had been inside, then stumbled his way out of the lab, grabbing packs of ice for his wounds, or even to preserve appendages that could have been torn off. Finally, he rested against the wall, collected himself, and eventually made his escape. So what brought about this desire to re-examine that scene? Well, there are a number of things. But the first is that if we visit the Blue Ridge Caravan Company at Big Bend Tunnel West, there are a few changes to the area and some new NPCs. The first is a bartender named Herschel Klein.
You're really starting to get that Brahmin dung fragrance like the rest of this sorry lot. Keep up the good work, I guess.
If we ask, he'll tell us about a number of rumors he's heard.
So, the Brotherhood of Steel, right? I heard a rumor it's all fake. Just a traveling theater troupe. They've got a different con in every town. One of my regulars said that he saw that Paladin Romani lady doing a trapeze act down in Florida. True story. Here's one I heard. We're all just living in a simulation. That's right, none of this is real. Die here, and you'll just wake up in a memory lounger somewhere in Hoboken, New Jersey. To be honest, I'm not sure which reality is worse. Thank you. I'm here all week.
This next one sparks my interest quite a bit.
You know that guard we got, Aries? He's got an encyclopedic knowledge of everything strange. Cryptids, aliens, killer robots. I've been working on a theory. He is an alien. His spaceship was destroyed when the bombs fell, and now he's stuck working for us just to get by. Poor guy. Must miss his home planet, something awful.
Do I think Aries is an alien? No. But we can now access the Blue Ridge Terminal again now that this section is open. We just have to make our way around Joanna Mayfield and kind of weasel our way in here. There we go. And if we look at the entry Staff and Clients for Appalachia, we see an entry on Aries. Get more info on this guy. Says he's from around here. Ghoul? Not sure. So they don't know much about him. And he does say he's from around here. That, combined with what the bartender told us about His encyclopedic knowledge of cryptids and aliens and killer robots? Well, this all sounds an awful lot like Calvin Van Lowe. Maybe we need to talk to Aries. We can find him outside the office.
Quietly, a stranger approaches. Motives unclear. Their eyes shimmer in apprehension at the ghastly apparition that greets them. "Hello," the apparition says gleefully.
We can ask him about the Blue Ridge Caravan Company.
It is the tide, bringing in what was lost at sea. Also, we provide protection for traveling merchants.
Next, we ask, what happened to you?
It never hurts to ask. But the reason I'm wearing the mask did. A lot. Can't breathe without this thing now. If you ever think, hey, I'm gonna try to play God today, don't. Trust me.
So, Aries remains quite the enigma after this conversation. He doesn't tell us a lot, but it does start to put the pieces together. We now know from the terminal that he's from around here. We know from the bartender that he has an encyclopedic knowledge of cryptids, aliens, and killer robots. And we know that Aries suffered some kind of severe injury that now requires him to wear a mask all the time. I'm now very strongly suspecting that he is in fact Calvin Van Lowe, but we don't know for sure. We won't learn more until we take on the Out of the Blue quest, which is part of the new Steel Rain quest line. We get it after learning that the Blue Ridge Caravan Company may be involved in the disappearances of people around Appalachia.
I understand your frustration, Mr. Knapp. Finding everyone that has gone missing is my top priority, but we need more evidence before we can act.
Evidence? Well, what more do you need, huh? Are you saying my Cassie is a liar?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Initiate. Excellent timing. There's something we should discuss. Mr. Knapp here has come to us with another missing persons case.
My niece Cassie. Cassie Holloway. She paid some caravan and folk to help her travel here from out west. Sent me some letters just before she set out. Them letters arrived just fine, but she didn't. I went and spoke with them caravanners, and they tell me that my Cassie never set out with them at all. Those, Blue Mountain what's-its,
When we return to the Blue Ridge Caravan Company office, we now see Aries inside.
Look out, here comes trouble.
Before we get to talk to Aries more, we need to see a conversation between Romani and Joanna Mayfield.
Ms. Mayfield, my name is Layla. I made an appointment to speak with you.
Please, Joanna is just fine, dear. And while all this cloak and dagger hubbub is flattering, why don't we cut to the chase, Paladin Romani?
Well, that was short-lived. Okay, Joanna, it appears I underestimated you.
And if it isn't my Employee of the Month, I was wondering when we'd get the chance to chat. I've made quite a pretty penny, thanks to your help. So many pretty pennies, I think I might hold a pageant. You still trying to get that backpack, dear? Plenty of work left to be done, you know.
I'd appreciate if the job offers were saved for later. We're here on pressing business.
Okay, Paladin, down to brass tacks then. It's not an accident that I finally opted to meet with you, after playing hard to get for so long. We know you're interested in the folks that have gone missing. We are too. Been looking into it for a spell now.
Right now, the most important thing is finding everyone that has gone missing and returning them home. Being upfront with your involvement in this now will be looked upon favorably, because we're not stopping until this is solved and they are safe.
Slow down, Paladin. This is not an admission of guilt or an attempt to weasel out of responsibility. We are just as concerned about these folk as you. We're willing to cooperate in hopes of saving lives, nothing else. And if you're hoping I'm about to spill the beans on some secret abduction scheme, you're out of luck. We have the same goals as you in this.
Honeyed words, but we should proceed. What can you tell us about the people that went missing from your caravan?
Better to just let you take a look for yourselves. Aries! Come on in here.
This guy looks like some kind of guard. Probably armed. Don't take your eye off him, Initiate.
At this point, if we've done the riding shotgun event, we can say he's a little strange, but he's a good guy.
Worked with him before, have you? Just remember where these hired guns' loyalties lie. The people paying them. Don't let your guard down just yet.
You rang, boss?
Harper's Ferry, the train tunnel. Mind showing our guests the route?
Oh, crap. You really want to go back there?
That was exactly my thinking, Aries. Head on over to that tunnel and show this duo of detectives the scene of the crime. Does that sound amenable to y'all?
And now we get all new dialogue options, and we can ask Aries what he can tell us about the train tunnel.
The train tunnel itself isn't so important, but underneath is a top-secret gas pipeline running all the way out of the region. It's a pretty discreet route. Safe, too, comparatively. Except, the most recent trip.
A top-secret natural gas tunnel? How would he know about a place like that? Calvin Van Lowe worked for the Bish Company, who were a natural gas company and engaged in all kinds of secret behaviors and illegal behaviors throughout the course of their business practices. If Aries is Calvin, that would explain how he knows about this place, but we'll need to learn a little bit more. What are we expecting to find there, Aries?
Well, the last known whereabouts of one of our caravans. They set up camp there, but come morning, the entire place was abandoned. It was a big group, maybe around 15, including our own guard.
You've lost that many people? And we're only just now hearing about this.
That's on me. I chose to keep this off the books. May be a bad call, but let's save examining hindsight for when we've gotten to the bottom of this.
All right, I think we have what we need. Let's get going.
Okie dokie, I'll meet you there. It's the big fancy train tunnel, just east of Harper's Ferry.
Now, time is money, and I've burned a bottle and plant worth of caps chatting with you two. So if you don't mind, please direct any further inquiries to my masked associate.
Fine. But after reviewing the evidence, I plan to revisit Blue Ridge's involvement in this matter.
By all means. If you find something that gets us answers, we can talk till the Brahmin come home.
But wait, there's more. Once we exit this little dialogue exchange, we can talk to Aries here, and he'll have some new things to say about himself.
Harper's Ferry train tunnel. Be there or be not there. What else did you need?
We can ask him a number of things here. Some we've already done. Let's ask about the mask.
Oh, just a little something to help me breathe. And to keep my jaw attached. You know what they say. Play with fire, get burned. Play with killer robots, get your face ripped off.
What's this about killer robots, Aries?
What? Where?
Alternatively, we can say, I don't think I've heard that one before.
Well, you heard it now. Consider it a public service announcement.
And of course, we can also ask him what he thinks happened to the caravan.
Hard to say. The campsite was pretty much undisturbed, just empty. Spooky stuff. Ghosts, probably. Or a ghost train. Train ghost? One of those. Tell me which one of those two things, and only those two things, it was when we get there, okay?
All right, Aries, we'll meet you there, even if Paladin Romani is a bit nervous about it.
Bring snacks. Please and thank you.
And at this point, the evidence is starting to mount that Aries is in fact Calvin Van Lowe. He confirms that he wears the mask so that he can breathe and to, quote, keep his jaw attached, that he essentially had his face ripped off by a killer robot. When we mention the killer robot, he gets very nervous about it. All of this is starting to line up with that scenario we went over at the beginning of the video where maybe Calvin Van Lowe didn't actually die. Maybe he was severely injured, but somehow managed to get away. We'll have to find out even more. To do that, we'll continue on the quest and meet Aries at the Harper's Ferry train tunnel. Before we catch up to him, though, we'll find Paladin Romani, and she'll have some more words of warning for us, because she just doesn't seem to trust Aries.
Initiate, glad you made it here safely. That Aries character is further ahead. I should mention, every instinct I have is telling me not to trust him. It seems we don't have much choice for the time being, but we'd be wise to keep an eye on him.
While I have my own list of things I suspect of Aries, the Paladins are quite different.
As I mentioned before, this isn't my first time dealing with a caravan group like this. More than once, we discovered that slavers had been using the guise of a caravan to collect and transport people. Blue Ridge using a dark corner like this for their operations only raises my suspicions. I cannot overlook the similarities.
Well, let's overlook all of those things and just go meet him.
All right, you take point. And guns at the ready. I spotted some feral ghouls earlier.
As we explore deeper into the train tunnel, we find a note on a desk titled Guard Note.
Still can't believe I got this job. They nearly doubled my salary, and for what? To sit here and read and make sure vagrants stay out? Okay. Don't know what they're doing down there. Don't care. They're wearing a suit or a hard hat, I just wave them on through. One of the suits was running late the other day and nearly got hit by a train. Guess he forgot to check the schedule.
So something secretive was going on down in this train tunnel before the war, but we still don't know exactly what. We'll learn more as we explore the tunnel and talk more with Aries.
Well, hello there. The spot we're looking for is further in the facility. There's a trick to getting in. Give me one shake of a lamb squatch's tail to get it open. Let's see, 30 days past September, carry the 2.
Is this for real?
And Viola is just a little further ahead. Please, after you.
Fine. But don't think we aren't keeping an eye on you.
I can't blame you. I know I'm a real looker. Being back here again even gives me the creeps. And trust me, that's saying something.
2 shakes of a lamb squatch's tail, a secret door that looks just like the one in the Van Lowe basement. Being back here creeps him out? All of these things are very suspicious, but it is nice to see that despite his disfiguring injuries, he hasn't lost any self-confidence. Now we find a new note titled Prohibited Items.
Updated list of prohibited items. Cigarette lighters, matches, blowtorches, oil lamps, firearms, fireworks. Employees carrying any of these items should be sent to management immediately for a reprimand.
If this was a natural gas facility, then prohibiting all of those items does make perfect sense. However, if this was a Bish Company natural gas facility, I don't think being sent to management for a reprimand is quite like it is at our own jobs. Something tells me it's a much more violent experience. Deeper into the facility, looking at some lockers, we see a Vault-Tec University jacket and jeans. Is that just a coincidence? Or did that perhaps belong to Calvin Van Lowe? The Bish Company hired him essentially right out of college and he went to Vault-Tec University. Maybe it's his, maybe it belongs to some other employee. After inspecting what looks to be some kind of supervisor's office, we can kill a ghoul and we'll find another note on the desk. This one's titled Internal Incident Report.
Internal Incident Report for use by Bish Management and HR only. Employee name, Sellers Dominic. Incident Summary. Mr. Sellers brought in several low-grade sparkler fireworks to add to a cake celebrating another employee's birthday. Incident Resolution. Employee has received a relocation package. HR to inform family in the coming weeks. Additional screening measures have also been implemented.
This report confirms my suspicions. This was a Bish Company facility, which makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. They were a natural gas company. They were involved in all kinds of nefarious things before the war. Who else would be operating an illegal natural gas pipeline underneath Appalachia but the Bish Company? It also explains why, if Aries is Calvin Van Lowe, why he's so familiar with the place. It also confirms the extreme consequences I expected for any employee of the Bish Company violating policy. He wasn't just written up, he wasn't just fired, he was, quote, relocated. And from what we know of the Bish Company, that means he was relocated to another plane of existence. As we explore deeper into the facility, we encounter more ghouls, but nothing really too difficult to handle. Eventually, we see a large locked gate with a terminal beside it, and we hear from Aries again.
Okay, the camp's just past this door here. I'll get it open.
If Aries is Calvin Van Lowe, it would certainly explain why he has access to this company's seemingly top-secret computer systems.
And that's bad. Oh, that's very bad.
Speak, Aries. What's a holdup?
You're not gonna like this. Follow me.
When we meet back up with Aries, he explains the problem that he's found.
Welcome to the 9th Circle of Hell. First, the good news. It's bring your own paramilitary night, so the paladin drinks for free.
I do love this character, and we can now ask him, what is this place?
Just your run-of-the-mill illegal natural gas pipeline, courtesy of the fine people at the Bish Company. A bit before the war, Bish offered to maintain this historic train tunnel out of the goodness of their cold, corporate hearts. And wouldn't you know it, they may have had an ulterior motive.
Imagine that. We can now play bad cop. Start making sense or I'll put my fist through that mask.
Well, I hope you've gotten your tetanus shot. No telling where my face has been. But listen up first. Here's the quick version. Clever little me locks that door by setting off a bogus gas leak alarm. But it looks like in order to lift the lockdown, you need to verify there's actually no gas leak. The door is real picky like that.
You locked the door? Why'd you lock the door in the first place?
We ferried a lot of people through these tunnels. Didn't want any of our former clients trying to use it. Not for business reasons or anything. We just didn't want anyone else going missing down here.
Okay, I buy that, but out with it already. What are you trying to get me to do?
I'm trying to get you to drop the bad cop act and listen for starters. If you'll cast your steely gaze to the left, you'll see a massive, impenetrable wall of strangler vines. To verify there's no gas leak, we need to get to the pump room. One guess where the pump room is located.
We've confirmed our suspicions about the facility and the Bish Company. We still have our suspicions about Aries, but now we need to get through the wall of strangler vines.
Winner, winner, rag steak dinner. There were some engineers living down here well after the bombs fell. Looks like they lasted a few years even. Which means they had a way of fighting back the vines. Maybe start by looking for how they did that.
Aries, why don't you tell me exactly how you know so much about this place?
In a past life I used to work with these pencil-pushing sociopaths in suits. Well, not at this facility, but I was in the know about their various nefarious dealings in the region.
So supposedly he didn't work out of this facility, but he knows people live down here. How do you know that?
I snooped around a bit when I first recommended the route to Joanna. There's some offices that were clearly being used as bunks for a while. Not sure what happened to them. It almost looks like they just dropped dead on the spot. That's not a bad omen, is it?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, so I guess we better find something to cut the vines.
I'll just skulk here in the corner in case another way of opening this door comes to mind. Let me know if you have any luck. Try not to die a terrible death.
This sounds like a very contrived way of getting us killed. Stay sharp, Initiate.
I'm still thinking about other ways we might get this door open. Definitely not replaying old episodes of Katie Inkwell in my head. Any luck finding a way to lift the lockdown yet?
Yeah, I'm good, but I'm not that good, Aries. We're gonna have to keep on looking.
Okay, you and the Paladin have fun.
I do really enjoy Aries as a character, and if he is Calvin Van Lowe, it just makes him all the more interesting. As we continue to explore the facility, we find the skeletons of former employees, and eventually, Paladin Romani calls out.
Initiate, look there, behind that gate. Seems like some kind of thrown-together lab. Do you suppose they were making something to deal with the vines? I think I see some kind of chemical on the ground there. We need to find a way to unlock this door.
To find a way to unlock the door, we need to explore this room, where we'll find 3 notes, a terminal entry, and an interesting thing posted on a blackboard on the wall. But before we get to all the marked items, we're going to do a little more digging. And after searching around very large rooms in the facility, we don't find a whole lot. But in one office, we do find another note that is not marked as part of the quest, titled Suspicious Noises.
Mike, boss man pulled me aside, asked me to go check out the pump area. Says he was down there the other day and heard something that sounded like a trapped farm animal. If I'm not back by lunch, send a search party. That place gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Wait a minute. A trapped farm animal? In a Bish facility? With someone we think might be Calvin Van Lowe following us through it? That sounds an awful lot like a sheep squatch. Or maybe an imposter sheep squatch. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's head back to the room where Paladin Romani is waiting for us to figure out how to open the gate and get access to the chemical they had been working on. Before we pick up any of the notes we're directed to, let's take a look at the chalkboard on the wall. You can see that there's a code on it. We've got the alphabet in its normal order, with number values assigned to each letter, A being 26, Z being 1. So essentially the alphabet in the correct order with the numerical values reversed. So A is 26, Z is 1, H is 19. You can see how that works. It's a fairly simple cipher, and it's going to play a role going forward. Taking a look at the first of the marked notes, we see one that says Open Sesame Seed.
Since there's only a few of us left down here, we decided to stop changing the password each week. From here until eternity, it's going to be Open Sesame Seed. Why? 'Cause I'd sell any of you to the nearest raider if it meant I could eat another sesame seed bagel again.
Paladin Romani chimes in after this.
Open Sesame Seed, eh? I've always been more of an everything bagel person.
Our next note is titled IT Work Order.
Bish IT support. Request. Help. I entered the right password and it doesn't work. Can you guys come help me, please? Ticket notes. $5 says this jackass is misspelling sesame as sesame again. Should be 822, 826, 1422, not 822, 822, 1422. I mean, seriously, we spelled the whole thing out on the board. Is this really that hard? Feel like we're getting a little stupider every day. Must be something in the water. Bish Pipeline, IT support.
And just in case we hadn't found that chalkboard on our own,
From the sound of it, they wrote the numbering system down so they wouldn't need to remember it. Must be around here somewhere.
and before we go after the third note, we're going to take a look at the observation terminal on the desk and see if it can tell us anything more about this facility, or maybe who might have been working here. The first entry is titled New ID System.
Bish has decided to start doing a new decryption system for passwords, project names, even our own employee IDs. Say bye-bye, Dr. Owen Dade, and say hello to my new persona, 12-4-22-13-23-26-23-22. Catchy, right? It's pretty simple, though. Maybe too simple. You just take the numerical order of each letter of the alphabet and flip it, so A is 26, Z is 1. I give it about a week before they change their minds on this. Personally, I think the new system is nothing but a stinking pile of 11, 22, 11.
I'll let you all sort out what that spells out on your own. The next entry is titled The End.
We got word of what happened up there. Guess I should count myself lucky that I'm on this shift. We didn't even notice anything was going on. Our water system is entirely insular. We've got climate control and enough emergency rations left in the cave-in prep closet. The world may be over, but we're still here.
At least a momentary positive attitude. The next entry's titled Vines.
These vines are driving us all nuts down here. Seems like they're growing stronger by the day. Can't even cut the damn things anymore. Mel said he's developing something that should be able to weaken them. He's being real quiet about it, though. I think he's full of it, personally.
So we learn a bit more about what was going on here, and the last entry is not feeling great.
If it's not one thing, it's another. Mel used some kind of chemical to make the vines weaker, so we've been able to keep them at bay, except the ones in the pump room, of course. We don't want whatever got trapped down there to get loose. Not feeling great, though. Maybe we just need some fresh air? Oh, right.
So they managed to weaken the vines, but it also sounds like they made themselves sick. And there's something trapped in the pump room, and something tells me that's where we're going to need to go. Finally, we can head over toward Paladin Romani and read the last note, reminder about password.
In case you guys forgot, we need to use the new decryption system for entering the password. Stop asking why there's no letters on the stupid machines. Take the password, convert it into numbers. Try using those mechanical engineering degrees for once. Mel.
And just in case we went through here and just clicked the checkpoints and didn't pay attention, here's Paladin Romani.
Looks like we'll need more than just a password to get through. Some kind of code for turning words into numbers, it seems. So, I guess we'll need to find a way to change open sesame seed into a series of numbers.
And now we'll need to enter the codes for Open Sesame Seed on these various password panels. There's numerous ways to do it. You can solve the whole thing, or you can just simplify it. So we know the first letter of each one. Open is O, that was 12. Password panel 2, Sesame, S is 8. There's only one here that starts with an S, so it's 6 digits. It's gotta be that one. Let's go ahead and enter that one in. And then finally on password panel 3, we have another one here. This is seed, so starts with an S, which is 8, but there's only one with 4 characters, so that's got to be this one, 8, 22, 22, 23. We'll go ahead and enter that, push the button, and we'll see that the door opens right up.
Initiate. That was some impressive detective work. Let's have a look at this. Aha! My hunch was right. According to the label, they made an extremely potent herbicide. Judging from this container, it looks like it's meant to be dispersed into a larger system. No sprinklers in here, so... Dear Lord. The facility's water line? That would explain the bodies out there, but... why? They must have known this would happen. No time to dwell on that. Initiate, let's look for a station where we can access the water line. This is what we need to weaken the vines.
Paladin Romani seems satisfied with what she's found, but there's a note sitting beside the body titled, I admit it. Let's check it out.
No one left alive, so I may as well admit it. I couldn't come up with a formula to combat the strangler vines. I found some industrial strength herbicide in the storage room, the fancy dispenser, the formula notes, this lab station, all just a facade. At first, I added a tiny bit and it worked. No one got sick. Seemed fine. You guys thought I was really smart, so win-win, right? Then they started resisting the smaller dose. Had to up it. Thought maybe our drinking water's filtration system would fix it. People puking their guts out says otherwise. I refuse to drink it. I'd rather let the thirst take me. Sorry, guys. At least I got to feel what it was like to be the smartest guy in the room for a bit. For anyone that finds this, I'll leave some herbicide behind. Use every bit of it and give those vines my best regards, Mel.
So now we know what happened. They tried to keep the vines back, and to do so, Mel kept putting the herbicide in the drinking water. At low doses, it wasn't a problem, but as he increased the doses, it eventually killed everyone. Perhaps that was ineptitude on Mel's part. Perhaps it was an unintended kind of mercy. Fortunately for us, we don't have to live here after this, so we'll go ahead and put the herbicide in the water supply.
Here we go. This looks like it connects to the main water line. Let's talk next steps. I should be able to disperse the herbicide into the water line from here. I'm suspecting that the security system here won't appreciate that. Expect alarms. And the company that alarms tend to attract. Ready for a fight? Okay. Fingers crossed and guns at the ready. Let's take a look here. Okay. The chemical has started dispersing into the water systems. Damn, it's detected a foreign substance. Prepare for it to get noisy in here. Initiate, I'll need you to keep them off my back. Ad Victoriam.
And at this point, we need to fight off multiple waves of ghouls, protecting Paladin Romani while she puts the chemical into the water supply. It's fairly straightforward. The ghouls do move quickly. They are high level if you're high level. And it doesn't seem that stealth works here, so be aware of that. If you're going solo and you're a low health build, watch out. It's a tough fight, but you can do it. Once it's all said and done, you'll be okay, and we'll hear again from Paladin Romani.
The chemical is pumping throughout the entire water system now, including a cess pipe that was for disposing of unwanted chemicals. Well, one sleazy company's environmental negligence is our gain, I suppose. Those vines should be weak enough to break through now. I, wouldn't drink the water if I were you, though.
And she's correct. We can now smash through the strangler vines with whatever weapon we choose. I picked up this exploding shotgun off of one of those ghouls, so why not go ahead and use that? We'll just break through some vines and eventually make our way back to Aries.
Any luck finding a way to lift the lockdown yet?
And no, we haven't lifted the lockdown yet. We've only found a way to get through the vines. So, Aries will remain disinterested and continue standing there sharpening his knife while we make our way deeper into the facility. We'll have to break through some more vines and eventually get into the pump room where all those people seem to be concerned about the sounds of a trapped farm animal. Considering how intimately familiar Aries seems to be with this facility, I'd wager that he is also concerned about the sounds of a trapped farm animal, and that may explain why he is not even remotely interested in coming down here. As we get closer, we hear...
Did you hear that? That doesn't sound like a feral ghoul to me. We should watch our backs in here.
What's the matter, Paladin? Scared of a little sheep squatch? It's nothing we haven't faced before, if that's what's in here. And it definitely sounds like that's what's in here. After clearing some more vines, we eventually make our way to the pump safety console. When we look in the terminal, we learn that the lockdown is still in place. We have an option to verify pump integrity, but we also see a note, one security abnormality. So something else must be going on down here. Let's verify and find out what.
Hostile robotic entity? That's troubling. Be on the lookout.
Well, it definitely is troubling if it's what I think it is. And off in the distance, we can see it. What looks like the sheep squatch imposter. But this one's a little different. This one's called the sheep squatch imposterling. Doesn't look like we need any special pylons to take it down, and we can handle it pretty easily.
I haven't lost my mind, have I? That was an Assaultron dressed up as a... sheep? Whatever it was, it's dead, and we should be able to lift the lockdown. Let's get back to that terminal.
Sorry, Paladin. Before we lift the lockdown, I need to check out this holotape that the sheep squatch dropped titled Command Parameters. I'm sorry, but I need to know why there's a sheep squatch imposter down here and exactly what's been going on.
Assaultron Custom Parameter Holotape. Author, Calvin Van Lowe. This Assaultron has been modified to include the following behavior parameters. Sheep squatch mating rituals. Read error, unknown parameter. 2 errors have been detected in this unit's parameter settings.
So before we diagnose the errors, we can understand that these are Calvin Van Lowe's parameters, and that his fixation on sheep squatch mating was apparently pretty consistent over time. Let's find out more about what's going on.
The following errors are present in this unit's behavior parameters. Error 1117M, installer, Calvin Van Lowe, listed installer of sheep squatch mating rituals.param, does not adhere to guideline 4264-2077, employee description version 3.0, please reinstall with proper guidelines.
So Calvin Van Lowe's name is listed here, but it doesn't comply with the new standard where you have to use the cipher that we saw earlier. So the name should be in here as numbers, but it isn't. What else does it say?
Error 729C, potentially malicious backdoor behavior parameter installed. No associated user. Please quarantine and identify.
If we have intelligence of 10 or higher, we can choose to quarantine the backdoor parameter and find out more about what's going on with this sheep squatch imposter.
Error 729C, behavior parameter quarantined. 729C, behavior parameter identified. Method, backdoor installation. Type, combat target prioritization. Installer, mother unit 00001. Behavior, locate all known BISH employees. Eliminate targeted employees on site. Report success to mother unit 00001. Sub-behavior, Any Assaultron units encountered should be noted and reported to Mother Unit 00001 for acquisition and repopulation procedures.
Okay, this is confusing, so let's unpack it. First, the person who installed the backdoor parameter change was unidentified. It wasn't Calvin Van Lowe. We know that because he was identified as the installer of the original mating rituals parameter, and we all have our suspicions as to why he put that there. So who was the unidentified installer? It's listed as Mother Unit. Calvin created mating parameters. In his imposter from Lewisburg, the one that ripped his face off and killed Wolf, the one we need to kill using power pylons. Is that the Mother Unit? It's not conclusive, but it certainly makes sense. We know that it's been running loose around Appalachia for years. What about the new parameters? Kill all former Bish employees? Eliminate them on site? Report success to Mother Unit? This must be Calvin's imposter giving explicit instructions to eliminate all Bish employees. Perhaps the only people it thinks might pose a threat to it, and apparently its offspring. Which brings us to the sub-behavior. Any Assaultron units encountered should be reported to Mother Unit for acquisition and repopulation procedures. It sounds like the Mother Unit, which I can only assume is the imposter Sheep Squatch, is seeking out more Assaultron units, upgrading and updating them, and turning them into its offspring, the closest thing to a mating ritual a robotic entity can likely engage in. This Sheep Squatch imposterling must be one of the offspring. It acted on its programming to kill Bish employees, found its way into the secret Bish facility, and was eventually trapped by the Strangler Vines, only to be uncovered by us. Would Aries, even if he is Calvin Van Lowe, have known about this? It doesn't seem like he did. And it does call back to his reference about thinking about playing God. Perhaps he wanted to create this imposter Assaultron. Maybe he did try to put something in it to create this. Maybe that's what the mating rituals really are. This is definitely a gray area, but it doesn't seem like that would have been his intended behavior for the imposter Sheep Squatch. From what we understand from earlier in the Lying Lowe quest, it was supposed to be a robotic creature that he had control over. This would certainly have given up that control. There may be even more to unpack here on an even deeper level. But for now that the lockdown is lifted, let's make our way back to Aries. We still have more to do if we want to confirm his identity as Calvin Van Lowe.
Your boss looks like she's about to strangle me with one of those vines. Something happening there?
Aries? Between the feral ghouls, the strangler vines, and that insane sheep robot, I've about reached my limit with this place. And your antics. I don't know if this is some kind of trap or elaborate cover-up, but we need to get through that door and get answers. Now!
Whoa, trap? Where's this coming from? Hold on. Did you say sheep robot? Like the Baba kind or the killer robot kind?
Aries, the door! Now! Please!
Okay, just give me a second. Yeesh.
Nearly there now. We're getting closer to the truth. I can feel it.
Now we can potentially attempt to kill Aries here by saying he's clearly guilty. Let's just deal with him, but I think Romani's being a little hard on him.
I hope you're right. I'd like to believe he's innocent in all of this, but I can't lose sight of the goal. Finding the missing people like Cassie is a time-sensitive, life-or-death situation. That comes first.
Alright, let's see here. Login credentials, check. New terms of employment, yeah. Benefits enrollments expired, sure. And done. Trust me now? I'll even lead the way, so if you change your mind, it'll be easier to shoot me in the back.
Thank you for opening the door. But know that if we find anything linking you to this, you're still going to have to answer for it.
Add it to the catalog of questionable things I already have to answer for.
Now, with that entertaining dialogue out of the way, let's take a look at the terminal and see exactly what Aries put in here. The first thing we notice is a user ID. 24, 26, 15, 5, 18, 13, 5, 26, 13, 15, 12, 4, 22. What does that spell? Based on the code we deciphered earlier, That spells Calvin Van Lowe. If that doesn't confirm that Aries is Calvin, I don't know what will. Now, we can look at a little bit more information below that. We can see that he requested medical 20 plus years ago. That was denied. Hard to believe that's from the Sheep Squatch imposter attack, because we know that Wolf, the fixer, was after him, so doesn't strike me as likely he'd request medical assistance and give his location to the Bish Company at that point. But hey, depending on how desperate he was, maybe he would. We see the recent gas leak lockdown. And then we also see warnings. Employees miss more than 1,000 plus weekly check-in reports. Fixer dispatched, please stand by. Well, I think the fixer is a little bit late. Then we can also see that company property was found to have been modified against regulations by user. Please report to supervisor. They want him to report in for his relocation package, I'm sure. So yeah, pretty well confirmed at this point that Aries is Calvin Van Lowe. But let's keep going. At this point in the quest, we need to investigate the caravan campsite for clues about the missing people. We find several notes, and ultimately they lead to it being clear that neither the Blue Ridge Caravan Company nor Aries have anything to do with the disappearances. But they don't relate directly to Calvin Van Lowe, Aries, or the Bish Company, and I don't want this to go too far off the rails. I also don't want to spoil anything that I don't absolutely have to, so we're going to skip ahead to the end of the quest where Paladin Romani needs to review the evidence.
Let me take a look at what you found. I just need a minute to review it all.
Pull out your decoder rings, kids. It's detective time.
Aries, I owe you an apology. My rash behavior was unfitting of my position, and frankly, unfair to you.
Water under the bridge. All of my best friendships start with misplaced suspicion of mass kidnapping.
I will take your word for it. I am sorry either way.
If you really want to make it up to me, I've heard you guys have some killer rocket launchers to spare.
Absolutely not.
After a well-deserved apology, we can speak more with Aries.
I'm glad you and the righteous Paladin got the answers you sought.
All right, Aries, spill it. What do you know about that weird sheep robot we found down in the pump room?
Well, I know that I'm glad you killed it. If it found me first, you'd be talking to a pile of diced meat right now.
So he definitely knows more than he wants to tell us. So Aries, who are you really?
Who are any of us? Who are you? Who is the Paladin? Who am I? Now, that's a good question.
For the smartass and forever cagey, what are your thoughts on what we found?
I honestly wasn't following. Something about cats and rug burn, I don't know. But it would be real swell if you found this locked safe and sound.
He's a smartass, but he's a well-intentioned smartass. Thanks for the help, Aries.
Anything for a fellow caravaner. Be sure to stop by Big Bend now and then. We never get tired of seeing you.
That bit of dialogue may change depending on whether or not you've done the riding shotgun event, or perhaps even how many times you've done it. But seems good to me. I've done it plenty of times. And now we can head back over to Big Bend and talk to Aries again now that the quest is complete. Let's see if he has anything different to say.
You're making quite the name for yourself. These merchants are good people, but they'd never make it through the tunnel without our help.
So what happened to you? We get a different answer than before.
You mean the voice, the mask? It's not so much what, but who. And, I think you've already been acquainted. It's my special reward for standing between a robot and love. Love that, someone may have programmed it to seek out. I do not recall that programming requiring ripping the face off of any human in its path, or gunning down Bish employees for that matter. But isn't Mother Nature amazing?
And with that final statement, if there was any doubt left, it's gone. Aries is in fact Calvin Van Lowe. Calvin, though he was horribly disfigured by the imposter Sheep Squatch, was not killed. He got away and has been living a secret life as Aries, working for the Blue Ridge Caravan Company. But that seems so random, you might think. But it isn't. Remember that earlier in this series we read about Carver Timmerman as a baby on the Van Lowe taxidermy terminal. He grew up to be a trader that travels with the Blue Ridge Caravan Company. He even mentions during riding shotgun how Shelley Van Lowe is alive at the settlement he's from in Kentucky. It makes perfect sense that Calvin would eventually make his way there, and even more sense that he would find work with a caravan that travels through an area he's familiar with. It makes even more sense that he would probably not be too interested in working on robots anymore either. Like all of my favorite Fallout lore, this story still leaves a bit to the imagination. What about our assumption that Calvin programmed the imposter to have a penchant for lovemaking, and that that's the reason he got maimed? Well, that's still certainly possible. He even alludes to it a bit, but it isn't confirmed one way or the other, which is fine by me. Leaving a little room for mystery is what makes all of this so much fun. How could the imposter Sheepsquatch have figured out how to essentially reproduce and program other robots? Another bit of mystery, maybe even a little bit of a classic sci-fi hand wave. That's okay by me. It's far from the most unbelievable thing in the Fallout universe, and it fits the story just fine. Now, there are a couple of other notes to be aware of as well. These may be speculation on my part. Maybe I'm reading too much into things, but maybe not. I think not. First, one other clue about Aries' true identity is his name. Aries is the zodiac symbol for the ram, highly reminiscent of a sheepsquatch. It's not a one-to-one match to be sure, but it makes sense given Calvin's longtime obsession with the creature. Then there's a deeper connection. Remember that Calvin worked for the Bish Company, and his sister's name is Shelley. Both of these names clearly call back to Percy Bysshe Shelley, the 19th century poet and playwright. In Fallout 3, the Bish Company operated a ship called the Ozymandias, the name of one of Shelley's poems. This time around, I believe the story is an homage to his play titled Prometheus Unbound. Prometheus, in mythical history and in Shelley's play, is said to have created humanity from clay, then stolen fire from the gods and given it to humanity, essentially as civilization. Calvin likely saw himself as a sort of modern-day Prometheus, hence his comment about trying to play God, referring to his creation of the imposter Sheepsquatch. He was so obsessed with the theoretical creature that he couldn't accept it not being real and chose to create it himself. Prometheus is also linked to the story of Pandora, she of the proverbial box, one that unleashed suffering, death, and disease onto humanity. Does the imposter Sheepsquatch represent Pandora's box? Once unleashed, there is no stopping it, with its apparent innate ability to reproduce and wreak havoc on humanity? Prometheus, for his crimes against the gods, was subjected to eternal punishment and suffering at the hands of Zeus. Calvin was permanently disfigured. He's likely in both physical and emotional pain every single day. We can't know this for sure, but it's also possible that he's become a ghoul. His voice certainly sounds like it. That would essentially make him immortal, subject to suffering forever, all essentially for the crime of trying to one-up the gods. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of this story, at least for now. The quest title, Out of the Blue, was indeed appropriate, because I definitely didn't see all of this coming. Who's to say that we don't see more at some point? Words cannot describe how happy I am that this quest and this character arc was added to the game. Stories like this are the reason I fell in love with Fallout, and I'd begun to fear that they'd gone away. I'm happy to see that I was wrong, and I really hope that we see more like this in the future. And with that, I bid you all adieu. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll subscribe, leave a like and a comment, and most of all, I hope I see you all next time.